Here we go. Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Yay. This actually worked. Technology. Yay.
Hmm.
I'm starting a watch party. Yay.
Oh,
Good morning,
yes.
everybody. I
Good
know.
evening.
Yeah, good evening for you. Yeah, but good morning. So I am Yvette McQueen, MD, emergency physician and travel doctor, a global physician on a mission to educate about health, travel wellness, and disease prevention. So I help travelers to stay healthy and well on their adventures. So this is a new series I'm starting, and I'm so glad you all are joining me. And I'm gonna grab my friends around the world, since some of us is a little put it this way, I wouldn't say lockdown, but we're a little stagnant.
Lockdown.
And we can only stay in
Lockdown.
the United States. I thought it would be interesting to hear about people who are living outside the United States and still able to travel the world. And I thought I'd start my physicians friends first. So this is Physicians Around the World. And this
Yeah.
morning, I am blessed to have my friend, and believe it or not, we never met in person, but she's still
Nope.
my friend,
This is my girl.
Carmen Brrown from Melbourne, Australia. Hey, Carmen.
Hi, Yvette. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is exciting.
Yes, and she graced us. Now, think about it. She's in Melbourne, Australia, which is
Yes.
16
16 hours.
hours ahead of us, and we had to kind of coordinate that. So she's
Yes.
ready to go to bed, and we're just getting
Yes.
up. But
Yes,
this
that's right. I'm in the future.
So, Carmen, tell us about yourself, what kind of doctor you are, and when did you leave the United States?
Well, first of all, I am an Atlanta girl, born and raised in Southwest Atlanta. Woohoo! My whole family is still there, so shout out to my family in lockdown. Please be safe. I love you all. So started my life in Atlanta, went to Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta. And then I literally started to trickle further and further out west until I made it on this side of the world. I'm a practicing obstetrician gynecologist, board certified in the United States and in Australia and in New Zealand. And I've practiced in all three countries. I've done a little bit of everything. I did some private practice for a while. I worked with teaching and residents and resident teaching. And now I'm working completely public. So I work actually for the Australian government right now, and I've worked for the New Zealand government too.
Oh, okay. So you didn't start in Australia. You went to New Zealand first?
I did. So I actually came through New Zealand. So I actually left the United States. 2010 was when we originally left. We just literally did it on a whim. We were traveling and just kind of decided we wanted to try something different. And so we found out that you could locum, which is, where a physician can work temporarily for some other health service, which is like what Yvette and a lot of other physicians do. So we decided to do something international. And so my husband and I got jobs in New Zealand and worked there for a little bit over a year and fell in love with the country, the people, just the lifestyle, everything. And so I was bit by the travel bug. It was all over. There was no coming back. We did try to come back for a hot second, didn't quite work out. And so then we ended up back in New Zealand permanently in 2013 and just kind of hopped the ditch to Australia in 2016. So I've been here for 4 years now.
Wow. Wow. So
Mhm.
you've been doing this for 10 years. That's
Yeah, almost 10 years, like with a little bit of a break back in the United States for just a little while and then literally just left again.
okay. And do you have children, family there?
I do. So I have a little one that's with me right now. So I have a 7-year-old little boy that's hopefully in bed right now. And he was actually born in the United States. He was actually born in Hawaii, at the same hospital as President Obama. And then we moved shortly after to New Zealand. So if you ask him, he tells you that he's from New Zealand, which is not really true, but that's what he thinks because he doesn't know anything other than Australia, New Zealand type of thing. So yeah, so he was bought over when he's about 11 months old and been overseas ever since. So he spent his entire life overseas now.
So he's just an international baby, basically.
Yes, yes. He has a cute little
Okay.
accent. He has a very cute little accent. It's a very weird little kind of James Bondy kind of mix of
Ooh.
Australian, a little bit of New Zealand sprinkled in there, and American. But he actually sounds more Australian than American now.
Okay, cool. So when you said the travel bug hit you, what
Mm.
does I talked last night with a friend about travel addiction and
Mhm.
travel coping mechanisms. So what do you when you say travel bug, what are you thinking of? And not the
Um,
disease bug.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not that bug.
Okay.
um, I think for us, so I actually started late, and that's why I really think that people have to realize that it doesn't have to be like something that you had the opportunity to do when you were younger. Because I traveled domestically, driving to places. We used to drive to Pennsylvania in the summer or to New York just to visit family. But to actually travel internationally, a lot of people don't have that opportunity, especially when they're younger. So I actually didn't leave the United States for the first time until I was like 27. That's the first time I got a passport. So it's not like I started off at like 14, 15, traveling the world. I was a grown adult, actually almost a doctor before I left the country for the first time. And my first trip was so just random. It was literally like we had a bunch of credit card miles. We asked we asked the travel agent, where can we go with this number of miles? And he said, you can go to Jamaica or you can go to China. I'm like, well, let's go to China. So my first
Wow,
trip overseas was to China, like literally the first time off the continent.
that's fantastic.
So random, but yes.
Yeah, because most Americans don't have passports. I
No.
mean, they're in the like on a continent,
Yes.
Europe and a few other
Yes.
places. It's almost mandatory and it's as
Yes.
an actual ID,
Yeah.
where in the United States is not mandatory. So you're
No,
right.
no,
Most
no.
people don't travel internationally. Now it's great to travel internationally. Well, they have to have it for Canada and Mexico. So a
Right
few
now.
people need it more now, even though Canada's border is closed.
I know, right? No one is allowing us in right now.
Oh, there's a few. I can count a few, but yeah, most of the countries are not letting us in now because of the pandemic. So yeah, so that's great. What do you get out of traveling? What do you feel that you learn out of traveling?
I think for me, it was the similarities and differences that you get in other cultures. And when I first started traveling, I think the cool thing that we were able to do was authentic travel. And what I mean by that is actually getting a chance to get out and meet people in neighborhoods and try to get away from like the tourist beat. And so when we went to Beijing in 2008, I believe, we actually got a chance to go to like literally just some random neighborhood with a tour guide, and they invited us in to have like lunch with them in their house in Beijing. And this is not like a tourist setup or anything like this. This was a family home. And we didn't speak Chinese and they didn't really speak English. And our tour guide was kind of the go between. But they served us an authentic, beautiful lunch with what they had. And just getting a chance to see just normal life, try to bridge that gap. It was something that was really authentic and beautiful. And I love that. And I just kind of got that feeling like I want to see how other people live and get a chance to make those connections, even though we might not necessarily have anything in common. So every time we would go somewhere, we would try to make sure we did that. And so every country we did something. We went to Brazil, we went to a samba school, not during like, Mardi Gras or Carnival or anything like that, but it was literally off season. And we actually saw them doing a regular practice session. Um, we went to Fiji, went to a Catholic church in Fiji on a
Wow.
little random island and sat there during a ceremony. And it was just beautiful. And so having those experiences just kind of like those get to you, you kind of learn little bits about people, but you feel more of a connection, I think, than you do just to stay on a resort or get a chance to meet those people around the resorts.
Authentic travel.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that term from
Okay.
you. I just,
Okay.
talk about traveling and different things you can do, but I love that. I remember going to France once, and I did a dinner at someone's house, and they, like you said, it was kind of authentic, but it was like a paid service, and
Mm.
she was an English teacher in France and wanted to practice her English. But for every country that you go to, you're actually doing something authentic. That is a great learning experience. And actually, you take your family and children and to
Yes. Yes.
indoctrinate them with different cultures, not just
Yes.
saying, oh, look at this museum and look at this
Yes.
building. And,
Yes.
that is wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. I just learned something. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just learn something, people. Okay. Authentic travel. So tell me this. How do you find practicing medicine different in Australia or even New Zealand than the United States?
So it's very different in that, first and foremost, these are universal health systems, or what we also call socialized medicine. So that means anybody who's a citizen or a permanent resident gets free healthcare, period. It
Oh,
doesn't matter if your job status, it doesn't matter if you're unemployed, you have free healthcare. So I find a nice beauty in that. Being a physician, I feel like you can practice pure medicine again. So I never have to think about if my patient can afford this particular medication. I never have to worry about prior authorizations before I do a procedure. I never have to think about the money aspect. If I have to do a certain type of surgery on a patient, if they have this surgery, because it will cost them too much money. So maybe I can offer them this one. It just takes away that kind of stress. And so for me, I get to just practice like it always I thought was meant to be. And I find taking out that middleman, that insurance and those types of burdens makes a huge difference. And it also allows me to connect with the patients differently. So I think that's part of the reason why when I went to New Zealand, I was done because I felt like, okay, this is the part of medicine I had been missing in my soul and my spirit. And it kind of it rejuvenated me and made me feel like this is why I went to medical school. This is why I did residency and all that training. Is because I wanted to have these types of human connections again. And it allows me to still be a mom and a wife and a doctor and not have to constantly try to like shuffle and juggle and feel bad because it just seems like in a lot of countries, they put life and family and other activities outside of interest really high up, and it's not like work and then family and then this. So I feel like I don't have to choose as much. So I just feel like I'm doing a better job in all those other roles, being a physician here.
All right. Okay. Physicians out there, don't all run in Australia just yet.
That's right. That's
Years.
right.
Please, don't run.
Don't run. Don't run. Not yet. The borders are closed anyway.
Yeah, they're not letting us in.
No, they're not letting us. Actually, I'm in the state that's doing the worst as far as COVID right now. So we were doing really well. We had 0 cases probably about 3 weeks ago, and then we just took off. So our numbers are really horrible right now. So we're in stage 3 lockdown. Our state borders are closed, so you can't even go to another state in Australia right now. So we're not doing too well. So
because we had heard that Australia had 0. You had went down to 0. They never went down to 0.
We did. Our state went down to 0 around mid to late June, and we had like 2 days of 0. And like today we had 288 cases. So we've literally gone up every single day, unfortunately. So yeah.
So basically, if you were in lockdown, it's people that was already there that was probably asymptomatic and is now
community spread. Now it's community spread.
Oh.
Yeah. So
okay.
yeah, we're just now starting to get masks. Like everyone, they just made an announcement today that people should wear masks out. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. So what's your daily life like? As far as family is important to you.
Yes, it is. So I made the decision to have some flexible work hours so I can have a day off. I'm actually the head of obstetrics at my hospital, so that kind of adds a little bit of extra work time in, which is yay. So I actually work at a semi-rural hospital. So I like where I'm at, even though it's really a kind of for a commute, but I actually drive an hour outside of the city of Melbourne out to the country to my job. And it's a small little kind of semi-regional hospital. It's really great. And I love the people and everything there. But I actually work 38 hours a week, and it's considered full-time, which is Pretty awesome. So literally everything seems like the same as far as medicine and taking care of patients. It's just, once again, it's all universal healthcare. Like there's no such thing as coding or billing. I just kind of see patients and still do surgeries and deliveries and everything. So that part is a little bit different, the little nuances of medicine that physicians would probably understand and appreciate. But yeah, literally the commute is the thing that's the hardest. But we do a lot of outside stuff here, which is odd. There's a lot of parks and beautiful spaces inside the city. Melbourne has to be one of the prettiest cities that I've been to. And that it's like they have like a little central park in all these different neighborhoods. And so it's nice. We like go on these long, like, 3 and 4 mile walks, sometimes after work, or we'll go bike riding just because we walk to the store, we walk everywhere. So it's kind of like you get that nice little family, let's do stuff together kind of feel.
Yeah.
And everyone does that. You see all these families out together. You see a lot of dads with their children, which I thought was amazing. That's something that you unfortunately don't see a lot of back home. But because people don't work the same crazy hours, there's a lot more time together, I think.
I know, 38 hours a week for a physician.
Full time, baby.
Like
full time. That's full time.
Job.
That's full time. That is full time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Those are nice hours. If it wasn't for the commute, it would be even better.
Okay. Okay, great. So do you pre-COVID, did you find that it was easier to travel and take vacations to other countries from Australia?
So that's a little bit of the hard part. So if anyone ever asks the pluses and minuses of living in another country, if you choose Australia and New Zealand, you have to like look at the map. It is far, like far, far, far from everything. So we are literally on the opposite side of the globe. It takes 15, 16 hours to get to, North America. So going home is going to be one of those like major kind of things. I just came back from Canada, and it was my first time going to Western Canada. I had a sister's trip with my sisters from Atlanta. They met me in Vancouver, and we went to Banff and had a really nice time. But it was a long trip for me. My little one doesn't travel that well, as you can imagine. For most kids, putting them on a box for 15 hours doesn't really go that well. So we've kind of stayed away from really long hauls for quite a while. So we've been doing little small trips. So for us, we'll go home to New Zealand a lot. So that's like a 3-hour trip for us. Okay. The other nice thing is the South Pacific is right here. So we'll do a lot of South Pacific trips. So we've been to Fiji and Samoa, New Caledonia. I feel like I'm forgetting a country. I'm sorry. But that's pretty much where we kind of go to. And those are like nonstop flights, 3-4 hours long, and you're in like a tropical paradise. So that's been a blessing. That's really, really nice.
Okay, great. Do you have another passport, or you just still roll with U.S. passport?
Just roll with the U.S. So I don't have another passport yet, but we are eligible for citizenship next week. So we're going to start the application, and hopefully they keep us.
Okay, wonderful. Great. So to my listeners out there, do you have any tips that you have for living outside the United States?
I think I'm in a lot of like expat groups, and I think it gets overwhelming for people because they usually do come on and say, okay, so I want to move. What's the best country for me or my family? And that is a really hard thing to decide because it's a personal decision. I would never tell someone that you can just uproot your life like we did and just move halfway across the world with your family. I have a very close family. Everybody lives within 20, 30 minutes from each other, except for my brother in Qatar. He's in Doha right now. He lives there. He's been there for almost 10 years. But all together, we're pretty close. And so it's really difficult when you make the decision to move halfway across the globe. But you have to make those personal decisions, and you have to weigh those things out. And so I would say, as far as advice, is you'd have to be true to yourself and kind of decide what's going to be more important for you at the end. And for me, wanting to be a physician and wanting to stay in this job, but also to make sure I had plenty of time to raise my little one and to be with my husband and to explore other outside activities aside from work. This was the only way I could make it happen as far as I saw. And so I think we made a joint decision. Everybody was happy with it. So we decided to go with it. But I can't apply that to everyone. And so some people will be successful at this and some people might not think this is the best option for them. And that's totally fine. But I would definitely say the first thing is look at the pros and the cons and be honest about those. Don't just say, well, I could just, I'll just do this and it'll probably work out, because it might not. So you have to be honest. Which ones are the most important things to you?
That's great. Yes, everyone should individualize their travel for them if they choose to live somewhere else. Did language play a difference of where you chose to live?
So yeah, actually, we actually kicked around the idea of possibly somewhere in Europe. I had this thing, and I fell in love with the Netherlands and Denmark. We went there. I loved it. I loved Copenhagen. I loved Amsterdam. It's just like, I could totally live here. But both of those countries do require you to learn their language, and that was just not going to work very well for me. So that wasn't going to work. So just looking at countries, looking at an English speaking country where it was going to be an easier transition, not only to practice, but also to learn a language. Interesting enough, when I got to New Zealand, I actually had to change my accent. So people that have known me forever know that this is not really my normal voice, because I've had to learn to slow down. I've had to learn to get rid of my Atlanta accent because they can't understand me. And so,
hey, how you doing, baby?
And they still do the y'all. I can't get rid of y'all. I'm sorry. Y'all has been with me for over 40 years. It's just not going to go away. But now everyone here says, hey, y'all. And I try to explain to them how that works and everything. You can't say y'all to one person. It's plural, so I try to explain it to them. But I had to literally just work on my, my skills as far as language, just because even with the Queen's English, it's very different. So Australian accents are different from New Zealand accents, which are different from English accents, obviously. And so we all had to kind of figure out little slang and how people say things and that kind of thing. So yeah. So it's been interesting.
That's wonderful, because I have friends that are living in Mexico and they seem to love it. And other people's like, well, I'm gonna, they're thinking of my group is thinking of retirement, where they're retiring. And they're thinking Costa Rica, Panama, and I lived in Florida for almost 20 years and still don't speak Spanish. So like, if I choose to retire somewhere, I think I need to go somewhere they
English. Make life easier for yourself. Exactly.
That does. Yes. So does your little one speak other languages at all, or just the Australia?
No, just Australian. He's just Australian English, American English and Australian English. That's pretty much all he has right now.
Okay. Have they gone back to school, or how's school working out?
So school's been out since March. So we do year-round school here and in New Zealand. So we have 2 or 3 week breaks in between our terms. And so COVID hit in March, which is right at the beginning of our, I'm gonna get this wrong, I think it was our autumn break at the time. And then, so school got out in March. It went back for a couple of weeks in June, and then COVID decided to be ugly again. So we're out. Right now, we're actually on supposedly winter break or some kind of break. But
that's right. You have opposite seasons.
That's right. It's freezing. I mean, it's freezing. I think it was probably about 40 degrees when I got home tonight. Well, to me, that's freezing. I'm from Atlanta. That's cold. But it was really, really cold for me. But yeah, it's wintertime. This is winter time for Melbourne. So yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking to family, not only do you have to coordinate time zones, you have to coordinate
seasons.
Because in Atlanta, hey, it's
hot.
82, 84.
It's hot. I know.
Probably now at 8 a.m. So
I know. And they make fun of me because it's all hot in summer and they're swimming and they're like, oh, it sucks to be you. But flip side, when it's summertime here and I'm up here, margaritas and having a good time, I'm like, y'all in the winter. So yeah.
That'd be a great time to visit, right?
Yes, exactly.
Great. Well, I appreciate you coming and telling us about your life. Anything else you want to add or let us know about Australia, New Zealand, traveling?
I honestly think they're both great countries. I have a little bit more of a special place in my heart for New Zealand, just because I think that's where I feel I started off my career, and My little one was basically raised there, and I've met some beautiful people there. If anyone gets the opportunity, I would highly recommend, please, please, please come and visit New Zealand. The South Island is stunning, and that's where we lived. So I would have to put a plug out for New Zealand. And if you are going to come this far, you should hit Australia too. And so if anyone wants tips or anything, I'm happy to always give those. I do have a book that I'm working on about working overseas as a physician. A little bit slow with it. I am getting there. It's in editing phase now. So hopefully I will have it out in time for all the physicians that want to leave. So the whole point is to kind of talk people through the whole transition of working specifically in Australia and New Zealand, just because I've been here so long and kind of know the systems and everything. So just kind of giving them tips and hints and ideas on what they can do if they want to work over here.
Where can they find you?
So yes, once again, I'm working. So one of my friends, hey San, she told me I need to work on my presence, and she is right. We did keep a couple of blogs when we were traveling around the world. So we have one about our world travels, because we did do a world trip. My husband and I, we visited 20 something countries in 6 months and took a break off of work. So we did that. That was bomb. That was fun. I totally appreciated that. So we have a blog, and I'll put it on your site, but it was around the world, Brown's World Trip. Sorry, I almost forgot my own blog, Brown's World Trip at blogspot.com.
Like the color?
Browns, just like the color, Brown's World Trip, blogspot.com. Okay. Yep. And we also kept a blog about our first trips and stuff like that, and living in New Zealand when we first moved over. So I kept a couple of blogs, and I also have a blog now about just kind of living life with a little one, because my little one has autism. And so I kind of talk a little bit about how, working with a child with special needs, different cultures, working overseas, and having to address those things. So I have a blog keeping that. So I got my hands in a couple different things right now.
Okay. What's the, do you have another, what's your other blog? Because I have it, brownworldtrip.blogspot.com. That's it.
I think it's Brown. Oh, sorry. That's an S, Browns.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Change that.
And yeah. I can drop the links for you too on your site.
That's fine.
When we're finished.
That's
and fine. I also have one about my little one.
Okay.
That should work. That one right there.
Yay. Cool.
Yep. So I'll drop the links to other ones, because I want to make sure I give you the correct addresses.
Okay.
So I don't mess that up for you. Sorry.
I am excited to hear that you have a book coming out, and you're going to increase your presence, and everyone can follow you. I mean, I'm first there to buy your book. Trust me.
Thank you.
I'll come. I mean, at
Thank
work.
You, sis. Thank you.
I'll come. I'm not saying I'll be a physician over there, but I'll come. Definitely.
I'm gonna get most of my group over there, hopefully, at least for a trip. So somebody come visit me, please. That'll be fun.
So if we want to say, if I had, of course, if you come that far, I always tell people, put in 2 weeks, 10 days, 14 days. I mean, Definitely. Like you said, it's a 16-hour trip from the West Coast.
Yes.
Of the United States. So you got.
Oh yeah, I forgot West Coast. That's right.
And you don't you cross over the international line?
Yep. You sure do. You sure do. Hold that.
If you want to go that far, you need to just invest the time to go there.
That's right. That's right.
If I had 10 days to do Australia, New Zealand, what points should I hit?
So you are going to probably have to fly in to Auckland. If you want to start New Zealand, you're going to fly into Auckland. That's going to be their main spot. But I honestly would say, if you only have that amount of time, head immediately to the South Island. So I would go from Auckland to Queenstown. Queenstown is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. It has mountains. It has beautiful, like blue emerald lakes. And it looks, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, that's pretty much where they filmed most of it. And that stuff is not fake CGI. It's like literally real New Zealand. And it's gorgeous, just like that. And then Queenstown's a wonderful jump off for all these different beautiful scenic areas of New Zealand. A lot of great cafes and restaurants. But it's just, that's where I feel you get real New Zealand. So I would say if you had a couple of days, I would start off on the North Island, go from Auckland. I would probably go to Rotorua on the North Island. That's basically the main Maori culture area. And so the Maori are the indigenous people in New Zealand, and beautiful people, and have some really great cultural sites and hot springs in that area. So it's a good place to learn once again about, the culture.
Oh, good.
of the country.
Yes. Okay, go
That's
ahead.
right. That's right. You got to do that. And then you head to the South Island and see all the beauty. So that's what I would do. And my husband and I actually did New Zealand and Australia in 9 days. So we were able to do all of it in 9 days. It hurt. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we were like bouncing from place to place after like 2-3 days, but you can probably see at least 2 or 3 places in that amount of time, spending about 2 or 3 days. If you come to Australia, you got to see Sydney and the Opera House and the Darling Harbour. I would say probably try to get the Great Barrier Reef, which is up in Cairns, up in Queensland. Full disclosure, Queensland is where all the big scary stuff is. So I don't really like Queensland that much. No offense to my Queenslander friends, but that's where all the scary big spider things like that are this big. Yeah, that's snakes. Yeah, that kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't do that. So that's not where I would roll on a regular, but that's where you can go to see the Great Barrier Reef. And then, of course, Uluru, which is the Aboriginal word for what they used to call Ayers Rock. So that's not the word for it. It's actually Uluru. So you definitely want to try to see if you can get to that. But these are hard little trips to do. So you have to literally like sit down and plan and make your decision because you're not going to be able to get all those places in 9 days. But you could try, 2-3 days at a place.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a wealth of information. I'm glad for anybody that's joined us live. If you just want to comment, throw in a comment, we'll try to answer those questions. Dr. Carmen is going to post her sites on my website or basically on the Facebook. This is on Facebook and YouTube, by the way, too.
So, oh, wow. Didn't know it was okay. YouTube. All right.
So, yeah. And thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've learned so much, and I am when it opens, I'm ready to come. I am so ready to come.
You got to come to visit me in Melbourne. Please do. I would love it.
We'll wait till your summer hits.
Okay. Yes. Wait till the summer. December. Believe it or not, December is the summer.
Okay. So I am ready to come. Hopefully we will be back to traveling by then. If not, we're looking at 2021. We can handle
That's all right. I'll wait for you, girl. I'll wait for you.
So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone who joined us and to listen. I hope you learned something from Dr. Carmen. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to me. I'm going to put my website up here. You can reach me at YvetteMcQueenMD.com. And of course, all social medias, I am YvetteMcQueenMD.com. So I hope everyone have a great day. For you, Dr. Carmen, a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
And once again, this is your global physician on a mission to educate about health, travel wellness, and disease prevention. Peace out for now.
Thanks, Yvette.